For the future.
Traitor.
Assassins.
From the central coast of New South Wales, Australia, it's the #1 podcast for the X-Men animated series. This is Generation X-Men with Bender and Brooksy.
Yes, welcome to the program. Thanks very much, Steve, for that intro. This is Generation X-Men. I'm Bender, and with me as always is Brooksy.
Hey.
Like the name suggests, we are Generation X-Men, and you are too. If you're new to this, what we'll be doing is going through all 5 seasons of X-Men the animated series, one episode at a time, giving you our thoughts, X-quiz, tally time, and most importantly, having a laugh as well. Now, Days of Future Past 1.
Part 1,
Part
yes.
1, man. I gave this episode a huge rap at the tail end of the last episode, and rewatching it just now, I did not overpraise it,
No, you
Brooks.
did not.
This was one of the most fun rewatches we've done together so far, man. This episode was so fast.
It is.
Like you said when we watched it, man, that felt like 5 minutes.
Yep.
It was a fast 22-minute episode. There's so much happening in
It's
this one.
definitely a favourite.
This is a strong rewatch episode for me. I mean, it's just where do I begin? Like, before we started rewatching the series for the podcast and everything, anytime I'd bring up X-Men the animated series, or anytime I said Bishop to you,
Yep.
you'd give me back, you or your brother, you'd give me back Traitor or For the Future. It's just like, hey Brooksy, Bishop, and then you just hit me with that
Traitor
line every time. And it was just, this episode had a huge impact on me as a kid, and probably you too.
Definitely.
Because it's watching it today, it just brought back so many memories of, like, I used to draw a fair bit. I said to Brooks, redrew Bishop's gun so many times. You couldn't pause back in the day. So the only way I could memorize how to draw the gun is just by watching the episode over and over and over again. I could probably draw it right now because it's such and Bishop's costume as well. I must have watched this episode so many times, and it's just got all the right criteria it meets for me to have a favourite episode. It hits all the criteria that makes it great. I mean, action beats, check. Mood, check. Badass and funny moments, music and character stuff. Sentinels and motherfucking Bishop, man. He is the man, and he's just such a great character, man. I mean, Cable's my guy, but when I was watching it tonight, the rewatch, I got so excited when Bishop shows up. He's just the king, man. It's just everything about him is just is awesome, and this episode is high on the rewatch list for me, Brooks. I mean, how did it impact you? How much did you remember about this when we weren't rewatching the series?
This is the one that I remember the most.
This one you remember the most?
Out of all of the episodes, this is the one that it would always come to my head. Just parts of this, always.
Did you have it on tape?
I think I had it recorded,
Yeah, same as me. But this... It's just unreal, and rather than just me blabbering on about of how much I can remember as a kid and whatever, we'll just dive straight into it. So it's time for X Quiz.
Pop quiz, Hotshot.
Pop quiz!
Pop quiz, asshole.
Time for a surprise quiz?
Won't be a pop quiz on Wednesday. There's a pop quiz. Pop quiz.
Okay, so not only was this an awesome episode, but it rates highly on the X-Quiz.
X-Quiz is in abundance here, man. There's so much to X-Quiz if for the keen-eyed viewers. I mean, we could probably nitpick and go into and X-Quiz everything because there's a ton of Easter eggs and that. I'd say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe I'll say I've got 5 questions for X Quiz this time, Brooks, and depending on how much we've got similar questions, it may change. So how many do you have?
I've got 9, but some of them can be broken up into more questions.
Yeah, they could be like extended.
So they could be up to 15.
So this is going to be a good X Quiz episode. I'm excited to hear what you picked up that I could possibly have missed. So we'll kick it off with you hitting us up with that first X Quiz.
All right, what year in the future is this episode set?
See, I wanted to pay attention to it at the start. I forgot to write it down, but I won't cheat on my list. I think it was it? It's not 2049 because that's Blade Runner. That's the new Blade Runner. Is it 2050?
It's 2055.
See, damn, it was close, but yeah, we're deep in the future here, man. So Wolverine would be really old. And in the episode, we see a lot of tombstones.
Yep.
A lot of the X-Men have died. I will cheat out. I'm sure you've got them all memorized. I'll say, what year was on Rogue's tombstone when she died?
2033.
That is correct. Should we go through?
Yep.
Are you going? We won't quiz each other because we've on the tombstones.
Yeah, let's do it then. Cyclops
are 2032. Rogue 2033, Storm 2021, and Jubilee, she was the first to bite the dust of these ones. She died in 2010, according to this. So, yeah, she didn't put up the struggle, but I thought it was interesting they lingered on hers last because she's probably the most innocent.
So she's definitely the youngest of them to die.
Yeah, and yeah, that's right, because she's the youngest in the team, and then she dies earliest in 2010, which was 7 years ago.
So what was the date in the present?
Monday, was it Monday the 11th?
Yes.
Monday the 11th, 19. Oh, man, I did go back in time. Because he comes back and he reads that on the newspaper. When Beast is in prison, this is my question. When Beast is in prison, Rogue and Gambit visit and bring him a book. I don't know what the title is, but who was the author?
It's Thomas Wolfe.
Thomas Wolfe.
So you don't know what the title was?
No.
The title was You Can't Go Home Again.
Oh, okay. You know, that's normally the books he reads are in reference to his prison, like Crime and Punishment or whatever. You Can't Go Home Again. We'd have to look that up. Do you know what that story's about?
No, I didn't look that up.
No, probably about prison or whatever.
So, how much does a daily newspaper cost?
Oh, geez, I can't remember. In the States, would it be a quarter?
Yes, it's a quarter. 25 cents.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember. Like how? No, it's normally a quarter. When Bishop breaks into the mansion, Jubilee's on surveillance duty. What sector is he in?
Sector G.
Sector G. See, we're all paying attention to this one because we knew this so much.
So the kids run past and they got a cartridge.
Yeah.
What's on the cartridge?
It's the Punisher. The Marbles, the Punisher.
It's actually Marbles Assassin.
Assassins. Let's play your new cartridge, Assassins.
Assassin.
See, they called it a cartridge, which is a video game. That's what we called it. But I heard over in the States they used to call them tapes for some reason.
All right.
But when they talking about video games and cartridges, they called them tapes. But in this episode, I don't know if that's true or not, or any American listeners will have to correct me. But I heard just somewhere that they used to call video game cartridges tapes. Okay, so this is my last X quiz, and we'll see. This is, I don't know if it qualifies as trivia, but I think it does. How many fingers does Nimrod have?
Oh, I didn't look at that one. 3 and a thumb.
3 and a thumb?
Yeah.
He's got 2 fingers and a thumb.
Right.
So does that count? So no. I'd say he's got 3 fingers.
Yep.
Like a Ninja Turtle.
Right.
I remember that because I drew Nimrod a lot as a kid.
Oh, okay.
And he always did the beam and he had the 3 fingers.
Right.
I thought just like Nightcrawler. So that was a cool little X quiz that I thought I might be able to stump you on. But it's just a design thing.
So what is the name of the camp that the mutants are being led into in the future?
Oh, shit. Is it a registration camp?
Yeah, control camp, I think they called.
A control camp, okay. I think, I wouldn't have called it termination camp.
But yeah, it's got a 2 letters and a number above it.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I've got no idea what it is.
It says MC3.
MC3.
So I think it's Mutant Control or Mutant Camp 3.
Ah, okay. Very clever.
I also got what is written on the pulpit when Bishop's mind gets read. There's a guy at the top. He's behind the lectern yelling at people, and there's a banner on the front of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. The picketing guys?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, I can't. Mutants. I don't know. Mutant registration now?
It says, "Do you know what your children are?"
Oh, okay.
So I think that's a play on that. Do you know where your children are?
Oh, okay.
And The Simpsons, how Homer's like, "I told you last night." No.
Okay. Oh, right. Do you know what was the mutant one again? Do you know?
Says, do you know what your children are?
See, that's pretty clever. I like that. That's cool. I didn't even notice that. See, I was too busy. I was half looking at the screen, half looking at my laptop, taking notes because so much was happening. It was so fast. Is that it? You got any more? Oh.
That's it.
Oh,
I had all of your ones plus more.
See, there was so much X quiz in this one.
That's great.
It was a good. I think when they go into the future and then they can do that sort of stuff, they can chuck in as many sort of references. I think there could have been even more because
They could have.
when they're bringing in the mutants, they're rounding them up with their handcuffs. They could have filled that with a whole bunch of X cameos, but they just chucked in some random ones. And even I think the reflection in the guards' goggles. I think later on in the episode, later on the series, the next episode, they sneak some cameos in there. But that's it for X quiz, and there was a ton of X quiz in this one. This is a good X quiz. Unfortunately, it didn't test us because we knew it so much.
Just seen it too many times.
This is only the 3 fingers that we got on.
Previously on X-Men.
So for previous on X-Men, we got a pretty big one for this one.
Right now, this is a huge previously on X-Men. They basically showed everything.
Yeah, we go all the way back to the Sentinels and Gyrick being told by the president to stop the mutant control program.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the Sabretooth throwing police cars, new scene.
Yeah, that's like the first
ever thing we see.
First ever thing we see.
Yeah. And then we see Magneto attacking the chemical plant.
Yep, the shoulder beams.
And the Senator Kelly wants to put every mutant in internment camp.
Yeah.
That's when he's wants to run for president.
Yeah.
And there's scenes from Night of the Sentinels 2. So you got all those sort of scenes of them fighting.
Yeah,
and everything.
the battle scenes with Cyclops.
Yep. And the final scenes are of the mutants on Genosha, and they have the collars, and they're being locked in their cells.
Yeah.
And then it ends with one of those cool blue X-wipes.
Yeah.
The lightning ones.
So yeah, that previously on X-Men sort of bumper before the episode, they really really did a recap on basically all the big mutant points in the series. They recapped on everything that's been going on with the Sentinels because this it deals with the future of the X-Men universe here. I thought it was clever to recap on everything from the Sentinels to the mutants to the registration to it's really a recap on the world that they've created so far. Not so much on the character stuff, but just the world that they've created, just to let the audiences know, okay, this is what we'll be dealing with in the episode with going to the future, mutant registration and uncertainty and unsafeness of mutants wreaking havoc. And that leads to like the Control Acts, which I thought was a pretty good previously on X-Men.
Yeah, it was. Let's break it down.
Break it down!
Break it down! Now it's time for a breakdown.
Breakdown.
Where is she?
Oh man, so today we have got Season 1, Episode 11, Days of Future Past, Part 1.
Yeah.
Its original air date here was March 13, 1993. It was written by Julia Lewald and directed by Larry Houston.
On you, Larry, you were firing today. You made this episode.
Oh, this is so good.
Unreal.
So the episode starts in the future, New York, 2055. Would you call this post-apocalyptic?
I would say it's very post-apocalyptic. Everything is tarnished. They start in real close on the Statue of Liberty, pull out, her eyes like falling out, and there's chunks, smoke, dark backgrounds. And I put down that there's some pigeons flying out of her eye, or doves, big white, I'd say white pigeons or doves.
Or a cockatoo.
I had to write it down because it's John Woo Mark, and that's just something I noticed. And it's really dystopian, post-apocalyptic looking New York City.
We also see that X-Men is scratched onto the wall next to a drain pipe.
And Sentinels are flying around as well, so it's under surveillance. Really Terminator sort of vibe.
And then we see 2 mutants appear out of the drain, and an old Wolverine who jumps over the pipe in the wall, and he hasn't lost anything yet. He looks pretty agile, pretty cool.
Yeah. Who are these? Do we know who these mutants are? Did you research them?
I looked them up, but they're just nobodies.
Oh, okay,
they don't
just
have
sort
any
of
names.
generic sort of mutants.
Yeah. So then again, that's another 2 mutants they could have just thrown in there. Could have been anyone.
I thought it was interesting that they went with these two. It's a boy and a girl. The dude's got Jax from Mortal Kombat. I was called him Jack. He's got Jack's metallic arms that he can turn on, and the girl's just got this energy beam sort of power.
So Wolverine tells them to be quiet, and he runs off into the smoke. And then we see our first Sentinel crash through.
Yeah, it's a real mysterious sort of scene. They're sneaking through. He gives them the shh, and then the music starts building up, like the intensity, and the big sentinel crashes through and charging after him.
Halt, mutants.
Yeah, the classic Halt mutants line.
And then they're running away from that sentinel, but they run straight into another one, so they're trapped in between both. And then the girl has like some sort of blasting power, and she it comes out of a fist, and she manages to like hit the building behind the sentinel and knocks it all on top of the sentinel.
Yeah, comes crashing down. At this point, we should mention that Wolverine's out of sight at the moment. It's just these two being attacked by the
he disappeared
sentinels.
in the smoke.
Yeah.
So then they've only got one sentinel now to fight, and the guy goes, "Gotta clean some trash," and then he makes his arms transform to like Colossus.
Turns
sort of
on
arms.
the metal steel arms, yeah.
Yeah, he just looks like Jax from Mortal Kombat.
A white Jax.
And he runs straight at the sentinel. He takes out one of its legs.
Yeah.
And then he like runs into a garage door and does like a flip.
Yeah, he does he runs around the garage doors. That he's moving so fast, he doesn't need to flip it or anything. Just straight comes out, takes out the other leg.
Yeah, straight through this leg. Yeah. And causes it to crash.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, a third sentinel shows up. It's got like a raptor.
Yeah.
You see the first two, but the attack comes from the side. Third raptor you didn't even know was there. And it appears it's going to blast the pair before it starts to come apart and starts to fall down. Then we see Wolverine's on its back just tearing it apart.
Yeah, it's about to blast him, then its front gets explodes and starts collapsing. Then Wolverine without the cowl, and he's got the big trench coat on.
Yeah.
What a shame. Now we can't surrender.
No!
And so he says, "I used to take those tin cans out in half the time. Must be getting rusty."
I think he's a bit harsh on himself there, because I think that's the fastest he's ever taken down a Sentinel. Because go back, I always compare it to the first time where he goes, "This one's for you, Morph," and he's just taking down that Sentinel. It takes forever for him to bring down that one, but in this one he takes it out real fast, which I thought was really cool.
And so straight from there, we hear off camera this, "I'll say," and are introduced to Bishop.
And the huge musical cue. With Bishop's theme, we've got the harmonica, we've got the, I think, a slide guitar and percussion and acoustic guitar. And it's just such a strong harmonica note that he leads in on. And yeah, when Wolverine says, "Must be getting rusty," and then Bishop says, "I'll say." And then they all freak out and say, "It's a tracker!" And they just charge in at him, right?
Used to take those tin cans out in half the time. Must be getting rusty.
I'll say.
Tracker!
Yeah, he shows up on that floating like bike sort
He's
of
on
thing.
the speeder.
Yeah.
Yeah, the what they catch the mutants on.
So yeah, she screams out, "Tracker!" And then he gets up and just starts shooting. And he shoots both of them, the kids, straight away.
Yeah.
And he starts taking a few shots at Wolverine, and Wolverine's like coming at him.
Yeah, Wolverine's getting close, dodging all the
He
shots.
takes his jacket off, and he's just coming closer.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And then he finally hits him. Bang.
Then he gets in, and right before he can land a stab, Bishop shoots him down.
Scratch 3 rebels. Oh, man.
Scratch 3 rebels.
There was one claw draw there, right?
No, there wasn't. In this episode, there's a lot of Wolverine with his claws out.
Already out.
But he doesn't have the draws.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Must happen off screen or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a cool way to set up how badass Bishop is as a mutant tracker. Well, we're led to believe, well, not led to believe like he's a mutant yet or anything. You just see that he's wiped out the 2 kids that wiped out 2 Sentinels, and Wolverine. He's taken out Wolverine as well, who destroyed a Sentinel quick smart. So this is building up Bishop as one mean dude that can really go toe to toe, and he's excellent at his job bringing in the Scratch 3 rebels and bringing in the rebels.
So we come back from the ad break, and Bishop has the 3 mutants lying down under like an electrified netting.
Yeah, in his speeder.
And Wolverine tries to grab it, and he just gets electrocuted.
I should mention that I think this is a sound effects rip.
Yeah.
The speeder that he has sounds like some of the speeders that are in Star Wars.
Okay.
I think more specifically Return of the Jedi, the speeders that are in what's that? That Forest Moon event. Or they got those sort of sounds. I'm gonna listen to it later on and see if we can find the exact one. But I think those are Star Wars sound effects.
Get alongside that one.
You heal up pretty fast for an old guy.
Yeah, after he zapped his hands.
And Wolverine goes, "Hey, don't I know you from somewhere?"
Was that? How did you read that line? Do you
one?
think it's because Wolverine knows him from somewhere because he's remembering what happened in the past,
Yeah.
or is it something else, or is it Wolverine's just faking him out or something?
No, I think that they're putting that in because this is the future.
Yeah.
And it's kind of happened, kind of not.
Yeah,
Don't know,
But
maybe.
that's how I read
Yeah.
the line. As a grown-up watching it, that's how I read the line. As a kid, I more or less thought he was just saying, "Oh, hey, you look like a friend of mine," or whatever. I just read it for what it was on the surface. Does he know him? Does he not? But yeah, I'm definitely thinking that some of the future past stuff may be happening already, and future Wolverine is sort of remembering running into Bishop maybe in that timeline.
So Bishop replies with, "Good try, Rebel, but you're heading to the Mutant Termination Center." Ooh.
Ice cold Bishop.
And Wolverine says, "Wake up, rookie. These Sentinels want to kill all mutants." And Bishop replies with, "Just you rebels, old man. They treat the rest of us just fine."
So there we've established, yes, Bishop is a mutant. He's working for them because he's bringing them in and everything. I should say that the M on his eye there,
Yeah.
I researched into that. I think that's a brand that he got when he was born to signify he was a mutant, right? Yeah. Because as a kid, I always wondered, what is this M on his forehead? I think that it's just a brand, a really mean sort of brand, kind of like in Terminator when they brand the barcode on Kyle Reese's arm, sort of way to register, okay, this is a human or this is a mutant. So that's what the M on his forehead, on his eye was.
So as they pull up at the gates of the center, there is two Sentinels on guard.
Two Sentinels on guard.
Bishop holds up what looks like a credit card sort of thing.
Yeah, an ID sort of key.
And the Sentinels scan it and then scan back at their eyes. Like
Yeah,
goes back
yeah.
and
He
forth.
holds up, says ID, tracker, Bishop, 3 recoveries, and the Sentinels scan his card, and up comes a little hologram of Bishop spinning around in a 360 sort of thing. And I always thought it was cool what you said when the Sentinels look at each other and swap data via the eye lasers.
Yeah.
ID, tracker, Bishop, 3 recoveries.
And the Bishop asks, "So where's my money?"
So where's my money?
So the Sentinel replies with,
Tracker Bishop recovery quota reached. Tracker Bishop no longer needed.
What do you mean?
Terminate them all.
What do you mean?
and he just goes, "Terminate them all."
I love that bit. It's so quickly that Sentinels can turn on mutants, and so quickly is Bishop contradicted by the actions of the Sentinels. Like, once you've reached your quota, we don't need you anymore. And it seems like really, really mean. Like, you could have the best bounty hunter, best tracker, but as soon as he reaches his quota, terminate him.
His quota's reached because he's good.
Yeah, so maybe it's like kept in place. Okay, this guy's too good at his job. Let's wipe him out anyway. But yeah, that's a great bit.
And then we get like our sliding door wipe.
Yeah.
I don't know what the different wipes are called. Do you know what that one's
I
called?
think that's just a general wipe. When it's going left to right or something like
Yeah.
that, it's just a wipe.
And it goes into the next scene, and the Sentinels are marching Bishop and Wolverine down a corridor.
Yeah,
They're
Bishop's
both carrying one of the mutants.
Yeah, Bishop's got the boy. Bishop's got Jax, and Wolverine's got the girl. And they've marched them down to Thingo.
Wolverine says, "So what do you think of the new retirement policy, rookie?"
Shut up, old man. I like how they're sowing the seeds for him calling him rookie from the start. So he's calling him rookie, so when we get that payoff, that setup and payoff later, it all works.
I wish it was Bob. How many Bobs would there be if there was Bob instead of rookie?
It would sort of, it wouldn't be as special, I don't think, if they called him Bob. But I like the term rookie. It really sets up like he's the Wolverine's the older, chiseled sort of guy.
And the girl in Wolverine's arms wakes up, but he quickly tells her to pretend to be unconscious again.
Yeah, gives her the shh.
And this is when we come across the X-Men graveyard.
Yeah, the tombstones. So grim.
legendary X-Men.
They pan across, show all the dead people, settle on Jubilee, and we see Wolverine's in a moment of pain here. And then Bishop goes, the legendary X-Men.
So they sort of pause there for a bit, and the Sentinel tells them to move on. And Wolverine turns to it with the girl in his arms, and she just blasts the Sentinel.
Yeah, and the Sentinel gets chunks flying off him. You can see all the gears on the inside of him.
And the guy in Bishop's arms also wakes up and metals on his arms.
Yeah.
And Wolverine then throws the cowl on.
Yeah.
And,
move, rookie. This ain't no dress rehearsal.
That's it. It's full of so many great lines.
Oh, so many lines.
And this is when we get our first claw draw here.
Ah, finally.
And Wolverine moves in to finish off the Sentinel, who is by this stage fallen down. He's sort of on his back.
Yeah, Wolverine does 2 swipes, and it hasn't put him down yet, so it must have been a stronger Sentinel or luckier Sentinel.
Yeah, he's going to town on his chest. And then he sort of like picks him up, and he's like, watch the material.
Yeah, the Sentinel picks him up, starts squeezing him, and then Wolverine says, hey, watch the material. Even in that moment, he can be sarcastic smartass, which I think is really cool. Squeezes him unconscious. And then he's hanging
his claws
there.
retract when he passes out.
And then an energy blast comes out there and gets the Sentinel in the arm.
Blasts the arm off.
And we see it's from Bishop.
Yeah.
He switched sides, and then he wipes him out. Wipes out the Sentinel and saves Wolverine.
They finish up the Sentinel before we find out that the party's over. Someone's invited Nimrod. So you want to do your description of Nimrod?
Nimrod is like the new Super Sentinel. I would say he's like the T-1000 sort of Sentinel, just the Sentinel that's the badass one that everyone's sort of afraid of, because Wolverine drops the line, party's over, someone invited Nimrod. It's like, holy shit. They bring in Nimrod when they need to get this stuff done. And Nimrod, he's not the big Sentinel. He's about the size of a normal sort of human, about 7 foot tall or whatever. Well, that's not normal at all. 7 foot tall. He's all white. He's got three fingers and a purple face and sort of this sort of hexagonal shaped head. He's got the hover thing and everything. It's just a really cool sort of mutant, real cool sort of Sentinel to have there. So he's scaring off the Jack's Arms guys. And that's when that's when Wolverine's about to fight, but then the girl says, Wolverine, no, the mission, and hands him a cylinder.
Yeah, she reminds him that there's a mission, and he gives him this small cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
So then Wolverine and Bishop take off, and they leave the unnamed mutants to fight off Nimrod.
Which I thought was really cool. They're sort of sacrificing themselves for the greater good of the mission, and they give it to Wolverine because he's like the last of the X-Men. And Bishop tags along with Wolverine because he's just got to tag along. He's not going to stay and fight. He's just going to bail out and see where Wolverine's taking him.
And then they show up at a doorway. Wolverine just comes up, knocks on it, says, open up, it's me, Wolverine. There's like no secret way to get in here or passcodes or anything. You just, it's Wolverine.
Very trusting too that they wouldn't think that the new Sentinels wouldn't have any voice synthesizers. They could they could easily say, hey, it's me, Wolverine. He opens up the door and get killed, but no.
So when the door opens, we meet Forge.
We're introduced to Forge, the older, wiser, I think he's of Native American descent. And I think his powers, which is not explained here, he's just a very talented inventor. Anything that he can think up, he can invent. So that makes sense why he's the guy who invents the time portal.
Yes, he has a working time portal.
That's what Bishop says, yeah.
Very impressed about.
Yeah.
And then Wolverine gives this cylinder to Forge. So it must be the fuel or the key for the portal or something?
A power cell or something.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's what would happen.
Because they just don't go into it at all. It's just...
Yeah.
It's just there.
It's unnecessary. We don't need it, but I can put it together that that's what the three Wolverine and the 2 other mutants were doing before Bishop tracked them down. Yeah. But I wanted to mention that Forge isn't into small talk here because Wolverine goes, Bishop, this is Forge. Forge, this is Bishop. He's with me. And then Forge just goes, we must hurry. Bishop goes, yeah, right. So he's not into chit-chat. It's all business.
Bishop, say hello to Forge.
We must hurry.
Yeah, right.
Then Forge gives Wolverine the temporal transceiver, which is just like an Apple Watch bracelet.
So he explains to him what the temporal transceiver is. Does he explain it?
It gets you where you want to go in a time and back. It also helps you. It also keeps you in that particular time. Without it, you'll crash back into our time.
That's all dialogue from Forge, right?
Yeah. That's where it's sort of getting a bit time. There's a few times and all that. We've got time travel here. It's getting confused.
Yeah, well, we'll bring up the time travel that they do in this is a single line time travel, which means, which I gather is if they go back in time and change something, it will affect everything in the future. That's what I thought the majority of time travel is with Back to the Future, Terminator. It's just a single line timeline. And other timeline movies I can think of is the first of the new Star Trek movies. When they go back in time, it branches off and creates a new sort of a timeline with like alternate dimensions, so that you can have crossovers in time. Like I say, a Wolverine from Earth 1 and a Wolverine from Earth 2 can bump into each other.
Right.
But in this one, they're saying it's a single line. There is only one timeline, only one Earth sort of thing. No interdimensional sort of characters, which I thought was something we should bring up and talk about because it can tend to get a little bit confusing.
Especially for a kid's show.
For a kid's show, I mean, I think this is the most simple way to do it. If you go back in time and change something, it'll affect everything.
So Bishop asks where or when are they going, and Forge explains that the rebels have a theory that if the assassination of the 90s never occurred, none of this misery would ever have happened. So there'd be no sentinels, no camps, no terminations. Wolverine then instructs Bishop to make sure the time portal is taken out once he goes through. And Bishop asks how does he plan on getting back, and Wolverine says that he's not.
Another sort of, I think there's a lot of nods to Terminator in this, and I felt that was a sort of thing, another lot of nod to the Terminator there. When Kyle Reese says, when the psychiatrist, well, how do you get back? He goes, I can't. No one goes home. That's that sort of thing. And when Bishop asks when or where he should be going, and Wolverine just goes, the 90s. As a kid, I had that reaction and I was excited. Ooh, we're in the 90s. That's so cool. We're coming back. And as a grown-up watching it now, when he says the 90s, I get a different sort of feeling, like excited, like, yeah, that's way back then. I was around during the 90s, and that seems like it's a little far away to go. That still works and works for me, that line, the 90s. It still has a sort of mysterious sort of vibe to it, but I can still sort of relate to it. That's what I found really cool about that line.
Where exactly is that? Or make that when?
The 90s.
Why then?
The assassination.
He also brings up the thing about the temporal transceiver, and that if it's destroyed, he comes back. So if they do destroy the time portal, he could actually get back. If he just destroys that thing. That's just what they don't have in Terminator.
Yeah. Well, I like how Wolverine has no plans to get back, because why would he want to go back to the shithole future? Well, if he does change it, it would maybe be nice, but I think he'd much rather just keep the temporal transceiver charged and stay in the 90s.
That also brings up that can Wolverine come back and see himself sort of thing.
Yeah.
That sort of question.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
It probably would have been easier. I don't know if it would have been easier for old Wolverine to convince young Wolverine and the X-Men that there was an assassin, but I think it was good that they went with Bishop.
Yeah, because like in the movie, like when he goes back into his body.
Yes, that's right. And I think it might be a similar sort of thing in the comic books. I'm not too sure how that worked out, but something to point out. They had Days of the Future Past started as the comic book, then it had the adaptation in the cartoon, and then it had the adaptation in the movies. All three were different.
Yeah.
None of them followed it exactly how it went. And I thought that was really cool, how a adaptation can change certain ingredients, characters, to create a different sort of feel and story to it.
So then Wolverine walks over to a cupboard and just gets out a massive gun.
Gets out the plasma rifle.
So why would Wolverine need this? Like, I get Bishop coming back with it, but what do you reckon Wolverine...
I would think that it's a different sort. He's the character of Wolverine's a different sort of guy in this future. He's a bit more war weary, and maybe he doesn't trust himself that he could wipe out the assassin, which hasn't been revealed yet. Maybe he's a bit more grizzled and wants to kill with the gun. I think it makes it a bit more cold and less personal than the claws, because in his mind, Gambit is the assassin. Maybe he doesn't want to get up and close and personal and stab Gambit. Maybe he just wants to shoot him from afar so he's spared of maybe that sort of guilt, you know?
Right. So Bishop asks, how is Wolverine going to stop the assassination? And he says that he's going to take out the assassin.
Yeah, by stopping the assassin.
But that means you're going after.
I know who I'm going after.
You really think you'll be able to pull the trigger?
Out of my way.
Yeah, they didn't want to give that away.
No. So we're guessing it has to be someone close to Wolverine?
Yeah, that's right. I wrote down a note here. All the dialogue here is really good.
Yeah.
Like, everything fit. Everything didn't seem cheesy or on the nose exposition. It was just everything fits so perfectly when they're describing the rules of time travel, the assassination that's going to take place, and all the sort of banter between the two, and Bishop challenging Wolverine. I thought it was all perfect. So
all of a sudden, an alarm starts to sound, and Forge tells us that the Sentinels are here, and he thought they'd have more time.
Wolverine says, I've got an assassination to stop. And Bishop goes, no, you don't. I'm going. And then he explains that he's in better shape or whatever. And Forge agrees with him here, says, and his youth is an asset.
So Wolverine gets pissed here, and we get another Claude draw. But Forge steps in and says that Bishop is right, the right choice. His youth is an asset. And with the transceiver, he will have all that he needs.
Yeah. I mean, they don't explain it, but the transceiver gives him all the information and stuff. And I'll skip ahead a little bit here, but we'll come back. Bishop loses his memory. Do you reckon there should have been an explanation as to why he loses the memory during time travel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that needed something, but we'll dive into that in a minute. But yeah. Then the Sentinels start attacking and
the circular blast comes through the door. Wolverine says, I'm going to remember this, rookie.
Which is really good. It sets up, this is the setup for when when he says the line again as young Wolverine. And they really had a lot of gravitas with the way Wolverine said, I'm going to remember this, rookie. It's like he's like going towards his death to protect Bishop, a guy he barely knows, and trust in him that he'll get the job done in saving the world.
I'm gonna remember this, rookie.
Go in peace.
I wish there was a better line than go in peace. I mean, yes, it's the Native American sort of tribal shaman in Forge, but I reckon it could have had a cooler line or something like that.
I did love that he jumped into the portal and it caught him.
Yeah.
That's cool, eh?
Yeah, he goes, and then he gets stuck in the portal. Okay, so Wolverine goes off to fight off the Sentinel. He gets blasted, he gets knocked on his ass, but he gets up and goes into fight again, and the Sentinel hand is moving the shit out of the way so it can get another shot in. Forge tries to, I think he's trying to either shoot Bishop or push him in the back just to give him a bit of shove so he goes all the way into the portal. But then he cuts back to Wolverine. He cuts the Sentinel's arm off, the hand off, and then he gets blasted and knocked out again. But then we reveal through the smoke it's Nimrod coming.
Yeah.
He's locked in. He's tracked him down.
So Bishop gives like a little look back here while he's in the
he's
portal.
like, oh shit, am I about to get done here?
And you see Nimrod appear out of the smoke before Bishop falls into like what looks like a spinning target, I guess you could say. And it's got like the yellow, the red, and the blue circles.
Do you think that Nimrod shoved him all the way through, or he sort of slipped into the portal just in time?
I reckon it's just how the portal works.
Yeah.
And maybe what they're using to fuel it isn't as good because it's in the future.
Oh, okay. So
I
it took a
think that's
while
the way-
to get going.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read you. But yeah, he travels in that sort of psychedelic, and the colours are all behind him. He goes, then he goes, and then he goes.
There's like a blinding light.
Yeah.
And then Bishop comes flying out. And then we get his theme tune again.
When he lands upside down with his feet in the air, kind of like the guards did in Unstoppable Juggernaut. It's a really sort of a pose that I think the director or the storyboard artist really like when he falls flat on the top of the back of his neck. But yeah, we get the cool-ass Bishop theme again, and he's coming to the present.
He gets to his feet, looks around, and he's still in like a rundown sort of area, and he immediately thinks, big surprise, the portal didn't work.
Should have just taken the subway.
And then he hears the voices. He hears some voices. So he crouches behind some trash cans, and he sees a bunch of children on the street in daylight.
Yeah, that's a big... that's another thing. I think that's a reference like to how bleak the future is, but it also, again, reminds me of Terminator, how they can't move around during the day or something because of the HKs, hunter killers, are searching the ruins for them.
He then realizes that it did work, but he can't remember what year this is.
But yeah, this is the whole... Why can't I remember?
That's it.
I think they should. It would have been cool if they explained that the time travel does mess with either their short-term memory, or it's such a strain on the body and the mind that some information and memories are lost or something like that.
Right, yeah, that would have been better.
Or or he lands in a way that really sort of knocks him out and he gets a concussion or temporary memory loss. Because at the moment, it just feels like he just can't remember just because he's, I don't know, goofy or incompetent. I would like maybe just a little bit more explanation as to why he can't remember.
So this is when he stumbles upon the newspaper, and then he knows that it's the 11th, Monday, 19...
Oh, man, I did go back in time.
Monday, the 11th, 19... Man, I did go back in time. But to do what? Professor Charles Xavier delivers speech on recent mutant persecution. I'm here to find... Xavier?
Yeah, he's still trying to figure it out. He can't get there. He doesn't know why he's back.
And then we get an X-wipe, and we go to the prison, where Rogue and Gambit have come to visit Beast, and Rogue has a book for him.
Yeah.
Now, Rogue says she got this book for Beast because the cover looked good. But all the cover says is just the title and who wrote it. Like,
she must have been a fan of that particular font and color scheme, I guess.
Gambit says that Beast is easy to shop for because you just got to buy the books with the most dust on them.
I swear he said that before because that's a good line.
He might say it again. He hasn't said it yet. Rogue asks how Beast is going, and he quotes, "Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage."
That would have been a good trivia. Do you know what that poem is?
Yeah, it's in my Beast quotes in Teletyme.
Yeah.
Gambit jokes that these days they use concrete and titanium. And he gives Beast a deck of cards for solitaire.
Yeah.
And he can't see how Beast can stand it in here, and he just wants to get out. So he starts to sort of charge up the bars. And then Beast comes again with his John Wesley quote. That though I am always in haste, I am never in a hurry.
He uses that one a fair bit.
He's used that one before.
It's one of his favourites.
Yeah, this was in episode 2, I think it was. He then bends the bars open for Gambit so he can get out.
Yeah.
Rogue doesn't understand why Gambit wants to leave, and Beast explains that he believes Gambit has encountered some demons in prison before. They then get this channel-changing cutscene of like the X-Men, and they're sort of like in the danger room and that. It's very similar to like the starting.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
It's like a little show reel of what the X-Men are about, showing their what skills they have.
Yeah, it's like Cyclops starts blasting a bunch of robots.
And it's very similar to the opening animation during the intro, which is an interesting point you made. Cyclops blasts to the left, blasts to the right, and then 3 robots appear from behind him. He spins around and blasts them. Wolverine jumps towards camera, then he puts the claws out, and then you see all the X-Men running towards camera. And you hear the music in there. It's very Terminator to me. It's got as they're whipping ass or whatever. And then we just freeze frame out, and it's just like you get a cool group shot of the X-Men, and there's a title. And then we realise Bishop's been watching them on his
Apple Watch.
On his Apple Watch. He's getting X-Men.
The legend lives. The X-Men, the unstoppable.
That's a really cool transition.
But he still can't remember what he's here to do.
Until some kids running by with a cartridge say,
"Assassins." You want to play my new cartridge?
Assassins, and that's the trigger word that Bishop remembers. Assassins. What am I supposed to do about an assassin? And that's when the little wristwatch says target, out.
Take out.
And it zeroes in on the X-Men. And Bishop misunderstands the message. He goes, oh man, the X-Men are the assassins. Gets the gun out, and I've come back to stop them. And the music charges like,
oh man,
we're on. And this scene reads so funny to me because Bishop is wrong, but the music is telling everyone he's right. And that's just so hilarious and so contradictory and contrast. It's like an oxymoron. It's like, he couldn't be more wrong, but the music is telling us, let's go. It's like,
what am I supposed to do about an assassin?
Take target, out, take out.
The assassin. The X-Men. Oh, man. The X-Men are the assassins. And I've come back to stop them.
And so he just gets up. He's got his gun out. He just walks out into the street. And then a bus just pulls up. He just gets straight on the bus.
Yeah, it's funny. He walks on the bus, the door's closed, the door's open, everyone jumps the fuck off the bus because there's a big guy with a gun. And then he's taken off slowly and trying to shift the gears, and you can hear it crunch because he doesn't know how to drive these present-day buses.
I love it because that's what I was thinking. Like, he's got a gun out and he just gets on a bus. I'm like, you can't do that. And then just straight away, bang, everyone's out of the bus. I'm like, yes.
From both sides, too, because someone bailed out the window.
Bailed out the driver's door.
Yeah. That's such a good scene. And the music is really charging, and it's such a great thing. The harmonica is blaring.
And he's got his little Apple Watch, and it's got Apple Maps on it.
Yeah.
So take him straight to the bloody mansion.
Got Google Maps up.
No, but he's not a very good bus driver. He keeps smashing into cars and shit on his way there.
Yeah, he's hitting cars on the wrong side of the road, making hard turns. And
then we see Jubilee, and she's up. She must be on security detail this night.
She's on surveillance duty.
Yeah, she's got her feet up in the war room, and she sees on the monitor that Bishop's comes busting through the front fence.
Bloop, 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 and Bishop tears straight through the front gates.
And she puts on the intercom, there's a creepy-looking guy in Sector G.
Yeah, and he's charging, and he's heading straight for the door, and he goes, oh! He's like getting ready.
And he just drives the bus straight through the front doors, man. That's so cool.
Straight through the front doors, nearly hits Cyclops and Storm. They dive out of the way. And then the doors open up, and he's just standing there ready to go.
He gets out. He's got the gun. He just pumps it. And he just screams, "Assassins!"
And fires straight into the camera. See, that was something that I predicted that wouldn't happen in the early episodes due to like standards and practice. You're not allowed to point a gun straight in the camera. But they did.
We get it.
I think it's because maybe it's a laser rifle, so they got away with it.
Assassins!
What also what I like, when they come back from the ad break, it's a different line, which is...
For the future!
For the future!
Just shoot Storm.
For the future! I must stop you all! For the future!
All right, the action is unrelenting in this scene. It's so fast and frantic and awesome. You can still keep track of it at the same time, though.
Yeah, then he just shoots at Cyclops and repeats it again.
I must stop you all, and then Cyclops blasts him, and he intercepts the blast with his blast.
Yeah, that's right. He shoots into it.
Yeah. Then he pumps the gun again and hits him with a double shot. He gets both of them. So it was at this point you think maybe he should change his gun settings because he's already shot Storm and she's up again. Now he also shot Cyclops, so they've each been shot twice and they're still coming.
So Jubilee comes along now and sort of blasts the gun out of Bishop's hands.
Yeah, he goes, for the future. It gets knocked out of his hand.
And Bishop, I guess, blasts back at Jubilee before like dive rolling over to the gun.
Yeah, I love this bit. I think Jubilee had a line or something, and then Bishop does this huge dive and gives her one of his arm beams. You know, when his own power goes, yeah, a big jumping blast. Then he tucks and rolls, picks up his shotgun again.
Yeah, that's when he's got the double shot there, and he shoots Jubilee and Storm.
Oh, is that where it happens?
Okay, you're out of here.
And then Wolverine jumps on his back.
Yeah.
But he's thrown straight off. And then he comes back and pins Bishop onto the ground.
Yeah.
And he's just like about to stab him. And he says, I'm going to remember this, rookie.
And that triggers Bishop's memory when future Wolverine says the same sort of thing.
It's like exact same line.
That's the payoff. And I like that's the ties the Wolverines together. Because because they're the same person essentially, and they still have the same sayings, like how people say mate, or I say boss, or whatever, or bub, and he still calls Bishop rookie based on, I think, what Wolverine considered the age difference. So I thought that was so clever how they tied that together.
And then he's like, Wolverine, it's me, don't.
Yeah.
And then it's just when the professor enters, and he tells Wolverine to stop because killing him won't answer any of my questions.
So
fucking professor. Such a prick. Nothing's changed. It's all about himself.
Well, we could have Wolverine kill Bishop. Bishop's our favourite.
It's all about you, Professor. He hasn't even attempted to shoot the professor, but no. I've got plenty of questions. Bishop is trying to explain that he needs to stop them because that's the only way to save us all.
And
the professor decides to take Bishop to the war room and read his mind with Cerebro.
Yes. Very, very, very clever move here, because when we get to the interrogation scene, as a Jubilee, she's all concerned about his really wacky...
she says, this arm thingy is way weird. I don't know how to cross-patch it.
Oh, technical jargon here.
Cyclops is aiming Bishop's gun around the war room.
Yeah.
And Jean's scanning like one of the cartridge bullets.
Yeah, Cyclops worried if this is the next generation of weapons, we're all in trouble. And Jean's scanning one of the shells. One of these cartridges, the energy output's off the scale.
Yeah.
It's lucky it was set to stun, yeah.
So, yeah, apparently laser guns take bullets now. So that just brings up like questions like how many?
How many shells in the rifle? Does he have to reload?
That's right. Where does he keep them? He hasn't got a bandolier on.
Yeah. Why are the shells so big compared to the cartridge holder in the gun?
Yeah, and did the stun ones take half a cartridge? What?
Can you use them twice?
Are you ready for me to try to help you, Bishop?
Do I have a choice?
I love that.
He also noticed here he's strapped in the same chair Sabretooth was.
Yeah, that is their interrogation chair. Lock up the arms. I feel as though his legs were still free, but yeah, lock up the arms, and yeah, it's the Sabretooth chair.
So this is when the professor reads his mind and he can see like the anti-mutant rally.
Yeah, the future imagery. He goes dark, frightening, and it's so bleak.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of mutants shackled walking in a line into the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sentinels are surrounding like the army as well.
Yep.
And also the president.
Yes.
Yeah, at this point, the X-Men let us know that they are watching the same images. So it must be like sort of projecting them, or they're on some sort of screen or something.
Yeah, I think that's the Cerebro connection.
And Wolverine says, this guy is a faker.
And then Jean says, oh, I'm really reading his mind and feelings. They seem genuine.
Yeah, she can sense his feelings and they seem genuine.
And then we get a shot of Wolverine in the future.
Just then, she touches Wolverine on his shoulder. And we get he gets this little grin. He's just got this little sly smile.
I didn't see that.
You got to watch that bit.
I'll watch it again.
I've noticed there's a lot of them, just little tiny...
Little animation
little
bits,
half a second little things that if you're just watching, you're like, hey, what's going on here?
I was liking that. Nice. But then it goes to the image of future Wolverine.
And he says, at least I didn't lose my hair. And then he gets a claw draw in the future.
Yeah.
And he gets blasted by a Sentinel. And then it flashes to their grave scene that we've seen as well before.
And Professor has the line, I've seen the future, we have failed, all is lost.
And Cyclops doesn't believe it. So Wolverine, he sort of like jumps on his side and he he doesn't believe it either. So it's not often that we get Cyclops and Wolverine on the same side or something.
They're on the same page, yeah. They're on the same page about this sort of thing. That's when they're all challenging whether to believe Bishop or not, and then Jubilee changes the subject. Well, what about this way weird weapon? And then Wolverine has the line, "Don't any of you get it?" Takes the gun off and throws it around. Mr. Terminator here claims an assassination's going to take place that's going to ruin the world.
And one of the X-Men is a trigger.
Yeah, that's right. I like that. That's the big line. That's the big reveal line to say what was their motivation. They're all figuring it out at the moment, and all the dialogue in this is outstanding.
Speaking of dialogue, Bishop's watch starts to flash.
What's going on? Someone in the future stealing your car?
How can you get that funny smart ass in such a serious episode as well? Everything is balanced so well.
So Bishop explains that this means that someone or something has come back through the time portal.
I like it. Mysterious. I think the audience knows what it is. I'm not sure if Bishop remembers yet. So he's not in the know like we are. So he's in the same pod as the X-Men, which I thought was really cool.
Wolverine says, "Check, please. Time portal, give me a break." Well, how did he expect he got there? Like, come on, man. Time portal's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that hard to figure out. I mean, a lot of people blow up about time portal. I remember in Gold member, Austin Powers says something. "He's taking my father to the time machine." And then Foxy Cleopatra says, "The say what machine?" The only word she didn't understand was time. Is that hard to understand what that word is?
The professor ends the conversation and says that it's not up for discussion and Cyclops should let Bishop loose to help him out. They all go out of the mansion, I guess, led by Bishop.
Yep.
And they watch, and Cyclops uses Bishop's gun to sight around, and he sees like some residual energy.
Yep.
And that's like the time portal entrance.
Yeah, it's in the shape of a door. It says it through the scope of the future gun.
Also noticed that from where they moved from the mansion to the war room, Wolverine's changed into his civvies.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of real quick costume changes here.
Yeah, he was in his yellow, but then he's changed back to go out on the mission.
Yeah.
So,
maybe he got it dirty. I think it's maybe because he really didn't believe that anything was going to happen. He's very skeptical of Bishop. So, we're going to the future, or we're going to see a future portal. Let me change into my jeans and jacket.
So who came through?
Not who. What? It's Nimrod!
Yeah, I think Bishop is flung right up to the fire escape up
on like
top,
the second floor.
On the second floor, and he just managed to grab onto the rail.
And Wolverine, he already has his claws popped here. He's ready for a fight. And he says, "You mean that itty-bitty soup can? Give me 5 seconds and I'll..."
And then Nimrod hits him with the energy whip.
Oh, yeah, that's what I wrote.
I thought that was a really cool little thing for Nimrod to have. He's got that advanced weapon technology. He has the beams, but he also can channel like an energy whip to whip him out of the way. He sends one Wolverine's way, and I think he sends one a Bishop's way later on, a couple of beats from now.
So he whips Bishop, and I guess he sort of absorbs it, or he uses his power, whatever.
Yeah, he does a big forward roll and charges up his hands.
And he fires it back at Nimrod.
Yeah, it's a sentinel from my time, the future, and blasts him and doesn't really have any effect on Nimrod.
Yeah, he absorbs the power, firing it back above Storm and causing a bunch of rubble to fall on her.
Yeah, gets her entrapped in the claustrophobia again.
Yeah, Cyclops says Storm is claustrophobic, and Bishop explains that Nimrod can sense it.
And then he gets got because he's switched to his blaster now, the future rifle. Nimrod can sense it. Then he gets blasted by Nimrod.
And Jubilee and Jean sneak up behind Nimrod and start firing upon him. And then he turns and looks at both of them, blasts Jean.
Yeah, chooses Jean.
Blasts her through like this doorway that's all boarded up.
Yeah.
And then Wolverine's like, "Jean, no!" He runs.
She's a real detriment to the team if Wolverine's around, because Wolverine will drop everything he's doing to make sure she's all right. Just probably it's not safe to bring her.
And then we just get like a really quick shot here of Jean just unconscious. Jean unconscious next.
I think the next shot is like Jubilee gets wiped out. She just gets flung straight into the garbage or something.
Yeah, right in front of the rest of the team.
Yeah, she got it the worst.
And Cyclops has dug Storm out. And Cyclops says, "What can we do? It's impervious to our weapons." And Storm comes up with "He has not yet felt the force of the elements."
Of course he hasn't.
And she flies up into the sky and calls upon ice to freeze Nimrod. And I read, this is just fully stolen from T2 here.
Yeah.
This is all of the freezing the T1000.
The liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's starting up the power, and then Nimrod looks up at her and gives her sort of like a piss off laser beam out of his eyes, like piss off. Zzz, and she goes, whoa. She almost gets got. Then she turns on the freeze. And I wrote down here, whenever they've got a really big bad that they can't wipe out, it's always up to Storm to freeze them
Go to the ice.
and slip them over. Because
Yeah.
the same thing happened to Juggernaut.
Yep.
And later on, I think the same thing happens to Omega Red. But yeah, Nimrod slips over. And then Bishop says something along like,
Increase the cold. Maybe we can crack the superstructure.
but yeah, she turns on the limitless cold and freezes him up. And that's when they all, I think, Bishop shoots at him, Cyclops shoots,
and
Storm gives him the lightning. And then when he collapses and falls into a million pieces, we hear the Terminator 2 shattering. Saying
Definitely the same.
The
note.
Hasta La Vista, baby, when Terminator shoots him. You hear that sort of high-pitched, rocky, diamond sort of crumbling sort of sound, ting, 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 and scatter onto the ground.
And Cyclops says, "We did it.
We did it."
And Bishop says, "No, we've only got a few seconds before he restructures."
He's restructured. He doesn't restructure in the T1000 way with going into liquid metal, but we see the wires and coils sort of all pieced together, and that's a really sort of creepy way of doing it. I think it's way creepier than the liquid metal, and with all the wires and shit, and he's trying to get back together.
So Bishop walks over to the head of Nimrod and shoots it, which causes another one of those huge blinding lights, and he disappears. So I guess he's gone back in time.
Yeah, Bishop explains he's hit Nimrod's temporal transceiver. And they explain that without, and he's got a close-up of Bishop's arm and says, anything happens to this, I'll rip back through time.
Yeah, they didn't actually show Nimrod's temporal transceiver.
Nah.
Do you think that they just build Nimrods with them?
It could be like they've built in temporal transceivers, but I think when they were in the future, I think Nimrod would have scanned the time travel machine and said, system's telling me I need a temporal transceiver to keep me in the past before I can go there. And maybe he's done an upgrade to himself, scanning around Forge's lab or something. Or it could have been that he's done the built-in temporal transceivers. But I thought it was pretty cool.
And Storm now believes Bishop. That Wolverine says, "Great, now tell me one thing." And then they transition back to the war room, and he says, "Which one of us is the assassin?"
I remember watching this with Lawley. Is like, why would he wait that long from the alleyway to the danger room to finish his question? So it would have been a really long car ride or jet ride. You're going to tell me what you were going to say? No, I'm going to wait till I'm in the danger room.
He doesn't say anything, just puts his finger up.
Yeah. So do you want me to... No. And then which one of us is the assassin? And the Bishop says, I can't remember.
It could be any of you. And Cyclops fronts up, it could have been Jean.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, Cyclops.
Could be anyone. Not Jean. Shut up, Cyclops.
And Jean says, I've had my dark days, or have you forgotten?
I want to know what the dark days are.
I think you mentioned it before with Cable, how they just threw Cable in there because they didn't know whether they'd be able to get him in later.
Yeah.
I think they've just thrown that in as an add to the...
As a nod to
the Phoenix.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And if
so
they couldn't get it in, that's the nod to it.
Right. So she's probably implying that maybe the Phoenix happened in the past. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's pretty smart.
That was my thought.
I can't imagine she'd just be wearing leather with spikes and black lipstick. Those are her dark days, and a mohawk. That would be funny, though.
Storm says that we all have a dark sides to our souls, and it could be any one of them. And Wolverine says, speak for yourself, lady. Like, he's the guy with the biggest dark side.
Well, he can't remember half of it.
The only person I'm interested in taking out is our man Bishop here, if he's lying to us.
Yeah, so it takes a lot to sway Wolverine. He still isn't...
He's very stubborn. He's the most stubborn of the X-Men, I believe. But I think it's because he's the most protective as well.
And then we get Rogue. She walks in the room and he's like, Ma, don't y'all look serious. And we got company too. What's up? And then we hear Gambit from the hallway.
Everyone can relax. Gambit has returned.
And that's another trigger for Bishop because he arcs up. You! Gets the gun from his shoulder, aims it right.
You're the reason I've come back.
We go, and then Gambit says something along the lines of, Mon ami, maybe we have a
small mistake.
And then Bishop
Traitor,
says,
your future ends now.
Pan to the gun, it fires, to be continued.
Huge white flash, to be continued. Boom.
And that's the end of a very strong episode,
Oh
Days of
my
Future
God.
Past, Part 1. Holy shnikes.
You're the reason I've come back.
Mon ami, there's been maybe a small mistake.
Traitor, your future ends now.
What did you think of that one, Brooks?
That was the best episode I've seen.
Best episode so far. I mean, wow. What an episode. If I was to recommend any episode for someone to watch randomly, if you're into the same stuff that we are, the badass moments, funny moments, the characters and the music cues.
Awesome action.
Awesome. Unrelentless. It's unrelentless, this action, man. It's just keeps on coming. It's cut so fast. It's entertaining. There's cool moments. This is the episode to jump into because this one it was just a ride, man. Starting off in the future, coming to the present. I think even like animation wise, there was no like big flaws or anything like that. Not that I pay attention to that sort of thing, but it just touches all bases here on what makes the X-Men animated series great. This is a top episode.
So this is also the first episode since Night of the Sentinels Part 2 that has the entire main cast in it.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Oh, wow. How about that, eh?
It's also the first appearance of Bishop and Forge.
Yeah.
And it's the only appearance of this version of Forge. The timeline, this timeline in the future Wolverine could appear as memories in the following episode as well.
All right. This is the first we get Nimrod as well.
Yes. You Can't Go Home Again, the book.
Yeah.
It's about an issues a man faces when he's going back home after a long period of time where, as well as finding his place in the world.
Oh, really?
The Punisher video game thing. This is the first time the Punisher's used in this animation. Yeah, I also wanted to mention it says Assassins as the Punisher.
Yeah.
And the Punisher was actually called Assassin first.
Really?
The guy that Jerry Conway was writing a script and he wanted a character that he could turn into a hero later on.
Ah, yes.
So he came up with the name Assassin. And Stan Lee said he didn't think they could ever have a comic book where the hero would be called Assassin.
Ah, yes.
Because there's just too much of a negative connotation with the word.
Yeah.
So he says some time ago he had a relatively unimportant character. He was a cosmic antagonist of Galactus robots.
Yeah.
They called him Punisher.
Yeah.
So he said, why don't you use that name as its good name?
Yeah. They were definitely stuck and worked out then because I think Punisher's way better than Assassin. But I didn't know that about the Punisher originally being called Assassin. So that's cool, cool double Easter egg if you really want to research the Marvel stuff.
That's right.
Man, that's really good, actually.
This episode has Bishop assuming Kitty Pryde's role of the comic version of the tale.
Yeah.
And this role from the comics to find the traitor within the ranks of the X-Men.
Yeah. Mate, I'll say again, this is really tip-top. The references, all I like is the references to other media as well. I picked up a lot of Terminator in here, and even the bleak future, when we're in future 2055, the music that's going throughout gave me a real sort of John Carpenter sort of vibe, and the whole escape from New York and the fact that they're in New York, I made that connection straight away, that sort of dystopian sort of future, and the Terminator music when they were when you were seeing the X-Men and everything like that. And even the line when they say Mr. Terminator here, reference to time travel, because it's probably the best time travel and most recent memory. But for me, Days of Future Past, just rewatching it tonight, it was so fun. It was so fast. The action was good. The characters were good. The banter back and forth. Badass moments and comedy linking together. This is the buffet of X-Men episodes.
It's got everything.
It's got absolutely everything. Like, if you're in the mood for, like, funny lines, this is one's got your back. If you're in the mood for badass moments, this one's got your back. Future, it's got your back. Everything. And the music, man. Bishop's theme is so fun, it's so detailed, and it has so many different variations. And the moments in this are crazy. Like, I keep going back to the moment when he realizes he thinks he's cracked the code. The X-Men are the assassins, and I've come back to stop them. He couldn't be more wrong, but the whole scene is telling you he's right.
Yeah.
And that's what makes... I mean, as a kid, you're thinking, no, Bishop, that's not what you're here for, idiot. Can't you remember? And as a grown-up listening to it, you're like, no, you fucking idiot. That's not why you're coming back. Why is the music telling me you're right? It's a big hero moment, and it's just so not the hero moment. He still needs to figure it out. It's scenes like that make this episode tip-top for me. And, of course, if there's Sentinels in the episode, I'm going to have a good time. And they're proper menacing this time. I mean, people say in, Slave Island, I've read that the Sentinels aren't as menacing as they need to be, that big ominous force that they are in their numbers. But in the future here, they pop up out of nowhere. Their numbers are limitless. They just keep on coming. They've repressed, and it's sort of a claustrophobic future with everything's beaten down. And those two Sentinels back and forth with the data exchange. They're a proper threat in this one, and you get to see more of it in the next episode when they see how the Sentinels take over. But in this, it's an excellent blend of dark, light, comedy, action, badass moments. It's a tip-top episode, Brooks, and I'll pop this one in any time.
So how do you pick your favourite part?
Okay, I'll give you my favourite part first, and it's the raid on the mansion from Bishop. I think the whole sequence from when he crashes through the gates in the bus, when the doors open up and he starts shooting at him. But the bit that makes me laugh the moment is I think I'll narrow it down to this bit. It's a single shot of Bishop diving across the room and giving the X-Men the blast out of his hand just so he can dive roll and get to the rifle. Because it's such a dynamic pose. He's so desperate in the noise he makes. He goes, ugh, and just blasts it like that just to get some cover so he can get to the gun in time. That's my favourite part. For favourite line, I will say it's the bleep, bleep, bleep. What's that? Is someone from the future stealing your car? I'll lock in that as my favourite line because I do love a funny line, and that connects to the sarcasm of Wolverine and how he can create something funny in a serious danger sort of situation there. So that's my favourite. That's my favourite bit and my favourite part. What about you, Brooksy? I'm ready to hear this.
My favourite part is when he gets on the bus with the gun. That's just so cool because it just works on so many levels. It was exactly what I was thinking. And that's like, oh man, that is just great. Like, I just love that whole part.
Yeah.
And also I have to give mention to his theme because that just gets me every time. Like, oh hell yeah, that's so cool.
You wouldn't think that theme would suit him, right?
No.
The harmonica and blues sort of sound is like, you think, okay, he's a guy from the future. He should have some sort of a digital synth sort of sound.
Yeah.
But they give him the harmonica and the slide guitar and acoustic, and it just works. It just works as this sort of kooky, goofy sort of thing, and it's really good. It's a really good bit. What was your favourite line, Brooksy? I'm so ready for this.
I can't split them.
You can't split them?
It's Traitor, your future ends now, or for the future. I can't split them.
They are very strong, and I wouldn't expect you to because you quote those ones all the time outside the podcast whenever we mention Bishop, so I'll let you have that. But, oh man, I just thinking about it, it's not just one action sequence, you remember? Even early on when I mentioned talking about Come the Apocalypse, there's nothing that sort of stands out, really super stands out visually in the action sequences. Going back to the start of the episode, when they take out the Sentinel's legs, the little guy, the Jax guy takes out the legs as a line. I was just getting warmed up or something. You see both legs come down, and the Sentinel's head collapses right in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And then the hand falls in front of that. That is such an iconic shot. And this episode's full of that. It's full of great action moments. Like, you forget, like, they've got the bus raid, the future action, when they're fighting Nimrod and everything. And it's chock-a-block full. And that's why it felt so fast. Because we were just having such a good time watching this episode. It's a really good episode.
So, what do you rate it?
Well, I'm going to go super high on this. I'm going to give this one, rewatching it tonight, based on how much fun I had tonight, I'm giving this one a 9.5 out of 10 for me. This might be my highest rated. I can't remember what I think Juggernaut was the second highest rated, or the original highest rating I give before. But for me, this one is so solid. There's so much fun, and just realising how much I liked about it. 9.5 for me, Brooksy. What about you?
I'm going to quote Billy Bob from Varsity Blues.
All right.
And give this one a 10.
A 10?
A fucking 10.
Full 10 out of 10.
A
10. Well, it is deserving.
10.
So,
I just can't see it getting any better than this.
So you're probably right. I mean, to jump ahead, maybe I think the episodes with Cable and Bishop, Time Fugitives, it could get better. Or when the Beyond Good or Evil, way in the future, season 4, that could be a 10 for me and 9.5 for me. But in the immediate future, I think we're going to struggle to get better than this one. A 10. All right, it's tally time, and like you said, a lot of claw draws happening off screen this time. We got 4 claw draws, is what our count was, right?
Yep. Yeah, so that brings us to 38.
38 so far in the series, and
we didn't get any bubs. We did have 2 beast quotes.
Got 2 beast quotes. That's right. I didn't even remember those.
Yeah, so we got the beast quote from episode number 2.
Yeah,
we've already seen, and we got the new beast quote, the poem to Althea from prison. It's a Richard Lovelace in 1642.
Oh, really? Is it that old? Is it?
Yes, that's the stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage.
All the claw draws happening off screen. Normally, they're the big moments for Wolverine, and because there's so many moments already, we didn't even need to showcase them. So just to talk, before we move on to shout-outs, I just want to talk more about the writing of this episode. So who was the writer of this episode again?
Julia Lewald.
Julia Lewald. I think she, if she was the sole writer of this episode, she absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, definitely.
Structure, characters, dialogue, it's all on point here. I think you can trace all the best sort of films, movies, TV shows, cartoons, how good they are back to how good the script is. Because if just based on that, on the dialogue, this was such a home run for me. Nothing felt on the nose, nothing felt cheesy. The exposition was all there, the banter, the jokes. Someone in the future stealing your car, that's so good. I mean, that is just straight up awesome. And the poem that he quotes, all the for the future. I mean, that's got to be that's the actor making it his own, but it still had to come from the script, and the writing was so solid in this episode. She was on, what's her name again?
Julia Lewald.
Julia Lewald. Kudos to you, Jules, because that was just unreal stuff. All right, that's it for us here at Generation X-Men. Another episode done and dusted. Rate and subscribe to us on iTunes and Podbean. You can also find us on Podcast Addict and Pocket Casters. Don't forget to give us a rating on iTunes if you use iTunes, because we want to get that star rating up there, and I want to be able to see what the average rating of our show is, just so we can get some more eyes on the product, get some more people interested. Like and share our page on Facebook at Generation X-Men. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Gen X-Men Pod for some behind-the-scenes photos, videos, and memes. Got some good ones coming up. Or you can contact us via Facebook IM or by email, generationxmenpodcast@gmail.com. So what's up for us next week, Brooksy?
So we got Season 1, Episode 12, Days of Future Past, Part 2.
The big conclusion. How do you top this one? How do you chop Part 1, Days of Future Past? I mean, from memory, I think they do give it a solid crack. But yeah, this one's just too extreme. I think they're going to struggle trying to match the grandness, the epicness of this episode. All right, that's it from us here at Generation X-Men. Hope you've had as much fun listening as we have had talking. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for your time. I know that we love you. Next week we've got Days of Future Past Part 2 with Breakdown, Tally Time and Claw Draw. Like the Terminator, will be back, and we look forward to your company then. Thanks for hosting tonight, Brooksy.
No worries, Bender.
Bye-bye.
See you, mate. A 10! Traitor, your future ends now!
For the future!